for joining us for episode 37 of Black Coffee and Crime. I'm Brandy. We also have Brandy and we have Jackie. We are all here every week on Tuesdays on YouTube, and you can also find us every week and sometimes during odd times on Facebook and on Instagram as well for new information. So you can visit our pages. If you have any suggestions for shows or feedback or whatever, you can hit us up at info@blackcoffee.com. info@blackcoffeecrime.com or on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. This we are just gonna be talking about Bill Cosby. That's it. These are the church announcements as follows. This is a major trigger warning, y'all.
Yeah.
Again, as we've said before, if any of the subject matter, because this does deal with sexual assault, if this is very sensitive to you, we would prefer that you not watch this. So please go ahead and exit and catch us next week. So it's a major trigger warning. We all probably have very different opinions about everything that involves this case, in the media, in the court, and everything based on our personal experiences, and then just, we're going to differ from, in opinion. So that's basically what we're doing today. We're giving our opinion about Bill Cosby being released, the entire civil and criminal case surrounding the sexual assault of Bill Cosby. All right, so those are your announcements as follows. Please obey your ushers and respect your pastor. All right, let's go. All right, so this past week, after 3 years in prison, 83-year-old Bill Cosby was released from an Arizona Supermax prison, which, for me, from being in a maximum security prison was ridiculous in the first place. But yeah, he was released. His conviction was overturned. The 2018 conviction for sexual assault was overturned. And trust me, there are mixed feelings about him being released. A lot of people in the Black community are like, yes, he didn't need to be there in the first place. A lot of Black women and women in general are like, no, he's a predator. He needed to be there. He needed to die there because he was sentenced to 10 years, which would have put him in there until he was 90. So he would have likely died in prison. So he was released not because of a technicality. That's what it first came out as, being released on a technicality. But really, he was released because due process was not met. They messed it up. Basically, the prosecution messed it up. And to me, that's the equivalent of the LAPD and the prosecution's office messing up the OJ trial. You had this case, He gave it to you, and you went above and beyond to basically. And that's what they did in this case. And I think that's, why a lot of people have mixed feelings. So, having said all of that, what was your first reaction when you heard somebody told you about Bill Cosby being released from prison? Like, what was the initial moment or reaction from you?
At first, I thought they were letting him out because he wasn't going to be before us long.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they was maybe letting him out for his health issues or whatever, because he was about to go on. So that was my first reaction.
I did too, because I was one of those people who really didn't think that, one, he needed to be in a maximum security prison. He was already 80 years old. Although considered violent crime, the crimes that he committed or that he was convicted of at the time had happened decades before. I just didn't think he maybe in minimum security prison at best, at worst, should I say. So I thought, yeah, he doesn't need to be there. He didn't need to be in that environment. It's not ideal for anybody, especially someone who's not able-bodied. So that's what I was thinking too, that they just kind of let him out on some Good Samaritan type thing, and then found out that the case was gone. So, Jackie, what were your thoughts?
That was actually my thoughts. I thought that maximum security was a little extreme. I thought that they were letting him out because of age, which definitely could have been tied to health related issues. But I originally thought, okay, well, maybe they feel like it's extreme. Maybe his age played a part in it, which also can factor in health. So that was the only reason I thought. It really was. I didn't think much more of it other than that.
Okay. But when I found out that, because the first word was it was a technicality, like something happened and um, they just messed it up and he was released. Well, come to find out, it wasn't a technicality. It wasn't that, because what I heard was that in the first trial, which ended up being a mistrial, he was not convicted in the first trial. That they only really brought one witness out in the district, one witness, and then in the second trial they brought like five more. And he was only on trial for one woman. He wasn't on trial for the 50 women, 35 women, or whatever. He was on trial for one woman. So I was thinking that was the reason why. Well, the reason really was that he had given a deposition involving Linda Constance, who was the person that worked at Temple University, I believe, in the athletics program. That she said that he had sexually assaulted her, given her drugs, and sexually assaulted her with digits. And that case that had happened like almost 12 years ago, 12 years prior to the trial, to the conviction, which would have been the statute of limitations. Well, he had given a deposition, and the district attorney at the time basically made a promise to him that if you give us this information on the civil trial, because they settled out of court with Linda Constance's case, if you give us information on the civil trial, we won't prosecute you criminally. So that's the only reason why he gave the information that he did, which ended up coming back to convict him. Well, that's prosecutorial misconduct by the second DA, because the second DA knew that agreement existed, but he just decided, you know what, that was an old DA, that's not me, I'm gonna do what I want. I'm back, Supreme Court says it won't work. You knew it was a promise by the DA. The DA's office is the office. You just happen to be sitting in the seat. The DA's office is the DA's office, so whatever promise is there is there. So Brandy and I had this kind of discussion at the beginning of the week, was that she's like, he did it, he's still guilty. Yeah. But he's no longer a convict. He's no longer convicted of it. So knowing that this man admitted to giving women for years, for decades, giving women drugs to have sex with them, and he's convicted of one, now the conviction is overturned. Like, how does that, like, what are your feelings about, having this guilt, this clearly man who said he did some stuff?
I mean, yeah, he said it, joked about it in his stand-ups in the 60s about giving women quaaludes.
Right. But he said that in the context of consensual sex. And in that environment and in that time period, it was everyone was taking turns. So I feel that we're judging. This is like a slippery slope, because we're modern people judging historical issues. But
the man said basically that he did it. He said he did it.
Sexual stuff, though. He said that he gave it to them and it was consensual. Did he slip it in their drinks, or did he hand them to them in their hand?
I think the prosecution really, really, really effed up. They did. They really effed up, because basically it was a waste of time for them.
It was.
It was a waste of time, because, I mean, he spent 3 years in there. I'm pretty sure that wasn't easy for him. But he's out now. I don't know if you should have took some time. See, this is my problem. Rape is already hard to prosecute.
Mhm.
And then if you have statute of limitations on top of the rape, how many people really, unless it's just like straight out all information, I mean, to happen within the last, I mean, she gets to the place like soon after it happens, and she doesn't, she leaves all the DNA and everything on her, and there's still a chance that the guy may go free.
Right.
So
Mhm.
So do
I
you
do
think
believe, because he
that
said out of his own mouth that he did these things. But right here, the prosecution worked. This is what we have been fighting for all this time, is to, have a fair trial.
and he didn't get that? And so
He did it, but the right was wrong.
right,
I mean, the
it's that
wrong was right.
that's the
They
slippery
fixed it.
slope. Is because that he admitted to some pretty foul stuff, but at the same time, this time with this overturning of the conviction, the law actually works because
Yeah.
you're supposed to get a fair trial. You're supposed to
Mhm.
be treated fairly. Everything is supposed to be done by the letter of the law, and it wasn't. There were some steps skipped. There were some things that weren't supposed to happen, and this time, at the wrong time, the law got it right. So it's kind of like I think that's what most of, and I can't really say, but I think that's why a lot of people are like, yes, he's out because it came out that y'all were doing illegal stuff to get some, like this is what we've been saying all along is that the prosecution and the DA's office, you guys suppress information, suppress witnesses. You don't bring out things. You do things, behind closed doors that are illegal, and innocent people go to jail. This time, someone who wasn't so innocent went to jail, but the system worked. And I think that's where a lot of people have the system worked, but it worked for a person that you didn't want it to work
And then I read yesterday this man talking about he gonna get back on the road and be doing shows and stuff. I'm like, man, just you need to sit yourself
Did he
down.
say that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he might go on tour and write a book. That there might be a book about the incident. Now, the book I can understand. The comedy tour or the speaking tour. Look, you're 83.
Wrong foot.
You
I
can't.
don't.
You
Yeah,
get
I don't see the comedy show. Definitely understand the book. I hope he's not stupid enough to do a comedy show that's stupid. I hope he wouldn't do that. That's
Yeah.
dumb.
well, he's saying he's innocent and he's just gonna resume his life. But I'm like, you yet hold it. You
Yeah.
yet hold one long trip somewhere and you out of here.
And he's
Yeah.
he was legally blind. Sorry. He is legally blind. And anytime that you've seen him recent, like in prison, there were inmate handlers that would help him do his, daily tasks or whatever, get from one place to the next. And even out now, you see him with his spokesperson or with his lawyer. At this point, just live the rest of your life out, write your book,
Yes,
and
that's
live
it.
the rest of your life
Spend
out.
time with Camille.
And tell the rest of your story. Tell your side of the story. Tell what we didn't get to see or hear from court reporting and what the media did not say. Because I still believe that even if you're dead ass wrong, you deserve to have your say. You deserve to have your story told.
Mm-hmm.
Your story should not be told by someone else. And okay, now I think we're really about to get into some argumentative and stuff here. Jackie, don't give me that face. The
Go
okay,
ahead. We can say we want to.
so
This
the accusers, and I'm going to clarify this. We're talking about grown ass women. We're not talking about women who have been put in a vulnerable position with trusted members of their families or friends or anything like that. I'm talking about grown ass women with a man that they don't. Okay, start. You go to a party and a grown ass man that you don't know gives you a pill and said it's a cold pill, take this. Ninja Opera. Why go there? A man says, let's go to my room at my hotel. It's after hours, and we're going to discuss your career. Sir, my office hours, in the words of Red, my office hours are from 9 to realistically, not ideal, not the ideal situation of what men should do and how women should act. Realistically,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is going to happen if you go to a man's hotel room after period? Now, let's not even say after hours. Because hotels have lobbies, hotels have lounges. Um, and even in the 60s they had lobbies and lounges and they were popular. So if you're going to a man's hotel room and he says, we're gonna discuss your career, realistically, what do y'all think is gonna happen?
Well, I'm thinking of maybe how these women, because I wouldn't go up to his room like that. Not well, I was gonna say not an old ass man, but he wasn't old at the time he was doing this stuff. A lot of
Right.
these women were like, we're gonna discuss my career. He's this big um comedian and actor in the industry, and some of them really thought that they were going up there to discuss their career. Like, he don't have no little rinky dink room like we trying to get down to the Hilton. He got this big old suite. We gonna sit in the living room, we're gonna talk. Now if you talking about your career at 2 a.m, I mean, I like I said, I wouldn't have rolled up there
Right, because
at
you have common sense.
unless I was down with, I knew that what was gonna go down.
Thanks.
But
I
some of
get
them might legit have thought that they were going up there to discuss their career with this big guy in the industry, and here he comes out in some flim flam, some kind of robe or something with his junk hanging out, and you're like, oh my gosh. But I'm not gonna be drinking, you know. I, girl,
Right.
I think majority of them. I'm not saying all of them. Let me clarify myself. Majority of them, they knew the power he had. At the end of the day, if I met you at a party, and at the end of the party, you're saying, he comes to me, he goes, we've been talking already a little bit. It's 12 o'clock midnight, and in that time, he goes, well, how about we discuss this in my suite? And that moment, you know the power that he contains in this whole entire in the industry. You already know that. So when you go up there, I would find it hard for them to believe that his intention, considering the reputation, because all of Hollywood know your reputation. Well, they don't talk about it openly, but everyone knows inside. So the reputation would already be like, hey, he get down like this. He gonna hook you up though, but you get down like this. So I would figure that not all of them. I agree with you, Brandy. I think some of them intentionally thought they were getting somewhere, but a lot of them, they knew what was up. The
Right.
point was to how can I get a little bit more of a leverage in my career by handling someone that is a major name in the industry. That's my point. So let me try to figure out. I may have to do what I gotta do. Let me go on up here.
and then when they get there and this happens to them, they're like, oh my gosh, like no one's gonna believe me. Like the whole thing with Harvey Weinstein. Like
Yeah.
he messed with all them women, and a lot of women did come forward, but it didn't go nowhere because of who he was. So we
Right.
don't know, some of these women came forward and then it was just squashed. And then it's like, dang, where people say it's been so long. Well, I came out the first time and they brushed it to the side. So now I'm gonna say something. But this is the thing that I noticed. The majority of these women are white women. There's a few of us here, but we are very high yellow.
In
But
the article from The Cut in 2018, is 35 women on the cover of that magazine, New York magazine, I'm sorry. And this was actually July 26, 2015. It's titled, I'm No Longer Afraid. 35 women tell their stories about being assaulted by Bill Cosby, yada, yada. Of the 35, I counted 7 women of color. And those women of color were very fair skinned. We could get to that part later on what the significance of that, of what that means. But as far as these women going to his room and taking, if this was consensual, because again, I'm not going to do any victim blaming or shaming or anything like that, but I'm going to come to you from a place where I think is reality. Did some of these women, were some of these women disillusioned by Hollywood? Absolutely. Happens all the time. It happened way back 150 years at the beginning of MGM and RKO and the movie industry. It still happens right now. But for the most part, and I said this a long time ago, when I met Jackie and all this was coming out, we talked about this. And I said, these women took advantage of Bill Cosby's celebrity, and Bill Cosby took advantage of his own celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
And those things coming together were a volatile, toxic mix because they knew who he was. He was one of the only Black elite actors in Hollywood besides Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte. And I don't know why my radio is Apple Music. But besides these 3, and there's very significant that Sidney Poitier is married to a white woman, Harry Belafonte is married to a white woman. They all were infatuated. He's at these parties, and he's very charismatic, and he's talking and he's drinking or whatever. And the culture was drugs. It was drugs. That was the culture. They were freely given. They were everywhere. So it's not as if in the 60s and 70s, even in the 80s, as if we're talking about a time when drugs were illicit and drugs were like, don't do them. This is not the 50s. We are talking about the 60s, 70s, and 80s. There were drugs everywhere. You can get high before someone will give you a burger at McDonald's.
Mm.
So these things were free flowing. And you go to these parties and you see the star. And right now we're talking about Bill Cosby, but we could be talking about Hugh Hefner. We could be talking about Jack Nicholson. We could be talking about Robert Culp, who was Bill Cosby's co-star in I Spy. We could be talking about any of these men. But this time we're talking about Bill Cosby, and so he's the focus here, and he has been the focus. So these women are taking advantage of, but he's also taking advantage of. Because you saw this man as a target, he can get me places. And even in the case of Harvey Weinstein, there are women who were taken advantage of, probably didn't know what was about to go on in that man's office. But for those women who were offered the role, who got what was promised to you, if you went up to that room, you took those drugs, you went up to the room and you did what you did and you got the little role, but you didn't get the second role or the third callback. Did you get what you asked for? Did you put yourself in a position to be taken advantage of? And did your story not get told because you got something out of it and you're a little ashamed of it? And you didn't, that's why you didn't tell the story? Because technically I traded something for something. I didn't get what I wanted, but I got something, so I really can't talk about it.
Makes sense.
Ashley Judd said, she came out about Harvey Weinstein. Rose McGowan came out about Harvey Weinstein. But did y'all get the role though? Did you get the part?
So you think those women went up there knowing that they would have to have some kind of sexual experience with Harvey Weinstein, who ain't
because like Jackie said,
damn
the
big.
industry talk, and they know, the insiders know, and they know what this producer is going to ask you to do, And so when that agent or that casting agent or whatever says, "Hey, I gotta call, you gotta go talk to Harvey."
In which Hulu has Hulu had a documentary on Harvey Weinstein,
Mhm.
and it's crazy that you're saying this now because I just remember now because I got obsessed with it when it happened. One of the women said that when her casting director sent her to Harvey, he specifically told her, you gotta be really careful because he's known for doing this, so, try to stay away from doing this or don't do that. Try not to do that. And her response was, well, I still just went anyway because I really wanted to go ahead and talk to him about furthering my career. So now that you're saying it, yeah, I gotta watch that documentary. It's on Hulu. It's really good.
So was he physically like, or outside of Bill Cosby, was he physically like jumping on these women and raping them and taking them, or was he just very heavy on the come here,
Very heavy on the come here.
Very heavy on the come here. Very heavy.
Harvey was very heavy on the come here. Both of them
were. You know who I am, and you know I can get things done, but I'm gonna need you to do this. Let me tell you about old Hollywood. I found this book on Kindle years ago. I love old Hollywood, okay, because we all think, that these Hollywood stars are so very pure and that, the image that they put. No, it was a very, very, very dark place.
Very sad.
There was I don't want to get this man's name wrong, even though he's long dead, but I can tell you that Clark Gable, very charismatic, handsome actor, would not on screen give you the impression that there was anything non-heterosexual about him. But Clark Gable had his time on the casting couch as well. Nearly everybody, Gary Cooper, Mr. High Noon, had his time on the casting couch with male producers and heads of studios. Because if you remember, in the studio era, the studio would buy contracts. So you worked for the studio. It wasn't like you were an independent actor. You worked for the studio. You worked for RKO, MGM, Universal, Paramount, whatever it was. So you had a contract, and you had a contract for so many films. So if you went to the head of MGM's office or this, whoever that was, and they asked you to do something, guess what you're about to do? Because you needed that contract. You needed that 15 film contract. You did it. And you did it knowing that you would have to do it. They went into those offices knowing that they would have to do whatever it was to be the star that they wanted to be. We no longer.
And then on the other hand, if you did not probably go for the advances they can do your career, and you'll be able to get the only job you'll be able to get is working at a restaurant or something. You were out of the. Go ahead.
I think you couldn't work at the ticket counter either because the studio owned the theaters. You could not work in the industry. One and only one that I know of that never, and everybody knew not to approach her about it, did not play that game was Betty Davis. That's why her and Joan Crawford always had conflict, because she would throw that shit in Joan Crawford's face all the time. Betty, that's why she was able to talk to the people the way she wanted to talk to them. She got the roles that she wanted to get because she could go in there. She's like, you ain't doing me no favors. You ain't doing anything. You give me this part, you give me the part. I make a good movie, you make money. You're going to give me the role that I want. You're not going to give me this other supporting role. You're going to give me, I'm going to walk down these stairs and be the star of the show.
And that's so that on
everybody else, male and female, on the couch. And even though the studio system is gone, that's still the way this works. And if you might be coming from Iowa or Missouri or Montana, stars in your eyes, baby. Somebody told you that this is the way Mr. So-and-so operates. You're gonna go to this party and you're gonna dress up as this, and you're gonna be nice and pretty, but you need that part, so you need to get known.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest murder mysteries in the world, unsolved murder mysteries, is the Black Dahlia. That's what she did. She went to Hollywood to become an actress. She was beautiful. She would go to these parties and they would feed her. She would wine her and dine her and all of these things to get these little parts in movies, and she never made it. Unfortunately, she ended up on a corner, split into corners. This is what happened. And again, this is not to victim blaming or shaming, but I have always, and I'm a woman and I grew up with a bunch of dudes. And maybe this is old school, antiquated thinking, but I was always taught when there are men in the room, get out. If ain't nothing but men in the room, get out. If you walk into a party and it looks a little funny, you need to call somebody to come pick you up. I have a daughter and I've always told her that. If someone wants to do something to you, 9 times out of 10, there's not a damn thing that you can do about it. If someone wants to commit against you, whether it's murder or sexual assault, whatever, because they've already determined that. But there are some times that you can, what does Smokey say? You can prevent forest fires. Sometimes you can prevent yourself from being caught in a situation if you read the room right.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of there. Don't go to that party. If you know that football player and his friends are known for getting girls drunk, where are you at the party? You went to Playboy Mansion. There. You're one of the playmates. You're there.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't take the responsibility or the accountability off of the person who's doing the assault. But you also
Not at all.
personally accountable for the situation that you put yourself in. And I think that a lot of these women, not all of them, but a lot of these women put themselves in positions that further allowed them to be taken advantage of.
Do you think that any of these women were just very naive?
Mm-mm.
Do you think they were naive?
No.
None of them.
I think they were hopeful that it wouldn't be that kind of situation, but I don't think they were naive. I think they kind of understood that it's possibility. You know, I'm talking about all of them. All of them hoped that that wasn't going to be the case.
You know,
That's just what they.
I'm a little 25-year-old and I get invited to this party and oh my gosh, Bill Cosby's there or Harvey Weinstein's there. And my dream, I mean, I've been wanting to be this actress since I was a little kid. I was doing, you know, in the drama group in high school. I majored in college, and this is my dream. And I'm coming to Hollywood or wherever, and someone invites me to this party, and I see Bill Cosby. Uh-oh. Mhm. And so you go and you see these big people in the industry, and you're like, wow, Bill Cosby it might be interested in me being in this movie. So, you know, we're at a loud party and he tells me to come up to his suite to talk about it. This is my dream. And this is the person who possibly could just open up everything for me. And I'm going, he pours me a drink while he goes to change into, you know, he got a suit tux or what on. He pours me a drink to make me, just, casual a drink to be nice. And then he comes, I'm drinking my drink, and then all of a sudden he comes out in a daggone furry robe with his peen out.
That's when you leave.
This is,
you all of a sudden I'm getting groggy.
You remember?
Yeah, no, because Bill Cosby offered it. He didn't put anything
in anybody's drink.
Yeah, do you want this?
Wait, you remember
when I have this bill?
Your own ending we used to have back in the day? We used to get from the Scholastic Book Fair, right? You know, in front of that, you know, the book fair. But that was a dig at you, Brad, because you was talking about me in the book fair. But the choose your own ending stories and everything that you did predicated what happened at the end. This is the moment. This is the first. Do you stay or do you go? So based on your story, this is my dream. And I've always wanted this. and I've been in drama, and everyone tells me how pretty I am and how great of an actress I am, and I can sing and I can dance, and this is my dream. How much are you willing to give to get your dream? How
Red
much
or
is
blue?
it worth to you?
It's red or blue.
Red or blue pill?
What we gonna do?
And in your story, Brandy, in your example, you said I'm 25. Are we judging this on 1960 or are we judging this from right now? Because at 25, 25 is 25. Your ass should not be naive at 25 unless you were literally living under a damn rock.
Girl, you know that different generations. I mean, I just read an article the other day where it was talking about 22, 23, 24, 25-year-olds that still living with their parents because of the different, you know, when other people were 25, they was already married with 3 kids and on their own. And now, you know, they were claiming that the boomers have, in a way, coddled their children too much where they're not out. Well, I don't think it was the boomers because I wasn't chilling with my mom at 25. I would say this next generation of Generation Z.
It's us.
They are not as mature as the previous generation. And me and you talk about that all the time, how we were doing this, and this, and then our kids is like, we're like looking at them, but it's a different time.
Yeah, they can't even order pizza on the phone.
No,
Like,
they can't. But they know how to walk away when somebody making them do something they don't want to do.
Well, I mean, if you already passed out and he already done pulled one leg out,
not passed out. You not passed out. You knew when he gave you that drink and said, "Let me go change to some more comfortable." What you need to change for? This is a business. We're having a business conversation. Why would you need to go get out of your business clothes?
Like this man might have been in a tux after the party, and he's gonna put on some old, you know, he liked them old tight gathered sweats.
He didn't like that
all the time.
That was before the Cliff Huxtable sweat. This time we talking about Mungo Star. Okay, we talking from Uptown Saturday Night. So we talking about right here.
He ain't about to be sitting with you at that time of night. He gonna go put them.
That's right. That time of night, he's not trying to have no business conversation. He gonna tell you come to his office.
Okay, this is where cultural significance comes into play. This right here.
Maybe we just
because in Black families, teaching is way different.
Yeah.
For the most part, this doesn't happen in all Black families.
Just
but
for the most part.
In my Black family, it did, and the ones that I know, this the cultural difference is here. One, you don't go nowhere with no man after a certain time of night unless you expected something. Because your grandma or your mama told you the only thing that's open after 10 is legs and jig.
Legs and chicken.
Okay. The man gives you a drink. Did you see him pour that drink? What is you going up there for? The only thing that you're gonna get out of this is a wet ass. That's what they would say. The wet ass. That's what I heard. So I heard. And then also too, the naivete that you're talking about at 25, 22. In our cultures, especially urban cultures in the US, Black girls grow up real fast. And we have to because of this kind of stuff right here. We are warned. That man like little girls, don't go over there. Our uncle like little girls, no, you can't spend the night over there. So we listen to the warnings.
But that's us. That's our culture. I don't know.
This is where the cultural significance comes in, and this is the reason why you see mostly white women that were assaulted.
I don't know what they teach their children. I've never been in a conversation where I can say, so what did your parents teach you about safety, about your personal safety?
And I would be interested to know. So if there's anybody who put that in the comments.
Not to be funny either. Just seriously.
Yeah,
seriously
I'm not being funny. I just really want to know.
I really want to know.
What there's
because we get so many talks. You get talked not walking with your hands in your pocket. You get you know, you get taught how to respond when you're in a police, in a situation with police, or how do you, to treat people or white people in public. And your parents always said, don't you be acting out around these white people. Like, we got all these lessons because this is part of our survival in this country, that we need to learn these things early as possible.
Yes.
We ain't even talking about black women, because black women learn even more stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know what other cultures teach their children.
think
I
that's
only know
where
my own experience.
the naivete comes in, is that it is the assumption that other cultures, and again, we really can't speak for what they do or don't do, but we can just base it off of what we know. Maybe it's the assumption that things are going to go the way someone said they're going to go. That they're really going to go up here and they're really going to talk about my career and furthering my career. That it's really a cold pill. That this is really an allergy pill. And that this person really doesn't want to hurt me. They're really.
I don't think that.
It is really.
He's just so nice.
I don't think that because. And I'm sorry. White women have always known they had a lot more power than any other race. They've known that no other. I'm not talking about white men. I said white women. They know the power that they have. They always have. It's like they're born that way. So you just have to know. I don't know.
You have to think you're in a situation where, and this is where the privilege comes in.
There you go.
That you're born into this world, you're able to do whatever you want. If you desire that, you can work and do whatever you want. You really don't have any roadblocks or anything. If it's a financial issue, you just work as hard as you can to get the money. You don't have to worry about anybody doing anything to you for real. Like, I can't even imagine that, like, that I'm just so free that my mind doesn't even comprehend.
Your mind
you better talk about it, BW.
Other than what I
couldn't imagine it. Couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine that.
Walk freely and be free, and nothing is stopping me, and there's no hurdles. Like, everybody else is jumping, and a track meet is jumping hurdles, and you just have one clear lane just to run.
I'm just floating through. And that's the thing, is that you've been told that you're so pretty. You're the prettiest in your high school. But
you don't even comprehend that
I'm not what you told me.
And you have a clear lane. You don't even see. In your mind, everybody's running in a clear lane. So you don't even comprehend that there's any strife or struggle.
So why can't you do this? Why can't I have exactly what I want? So why wouldn't I be able
Randy, you just told what it is.
That casting office. Why wouldn't I be able to do that? Because I can't even see a reason why I can't have it.
Y'all ain't no type of power. BW, they didn't even understand that one. They didn't understand that one. That's the power right there. It's the privilege. I literally told somebody today, because he was like, I'm just black woman. I said, why is it that I have to be a strong black woman? Why is it that as a black woman, my requirement is to be strong, and I have to be able to handle this, and I got to be able to handle that? Why is that my requirement? While, a woman of another race doesn't really have those type of requirements. No. And so you are so...
It doesn't even know there are requirements.
Yes.
Baby, I would love to walk free.
Being soft, being vulnerable is a luxury that most black women do not have.
Do not have.
So we go into situations like this already looking for the okie doke. We're already looking for the bullshit. If I go into a job interview, trust me, I have a job interview, I'm already apprehensive, like, they're gonna be on some bullshit. Like, I already think that in my head, like, they're about to be on some BS, and wait, because somebody gonna say something. Jackie, we work together. And in our conversations at work, there was one particular person that every single morning, I'm giving her the stank eye every morning, because I'm waiting for her to say something out of pocket, because I've got 10 different nasty ass things to say to her.
It just wasn't that. It's just that she was Brandy. She felt so entitled to our conversation that we are not even including her in. That she would just jump in, put her opinion in. Didn't matter who it was cutting down. No matter how she was talking bad about us in regards to the situation. It didn't matter. It's because it's what she said mattered in that moment. Nobody else interrupted. Don't matter. It just that she felt as if what I got to say is more important than what you're even talking about.
And would become so offended, so very hurt if I stood up and talked and said to Jackie, now I'm talking to her, but I'm looking at Jackie, and I would say to Jackie, I didn't think I was talking to her. This is not her conversation.
Yeah.
Like she was invited. And then it was like, oh.
Brandy be like, this one. No, Brandy was a little bit harsher than what she said because she'd be like, who she talking to? She be saying, look at me dead in the eye, Jackie. I'd be like, yeah, who's she talking to? I'm like,
did you do her stuff like this and then get comfortable and then say something?
I'd be like, oh Lord, here she goes. Especially if she jump in. Well, I think we'd be like, the hell? Did Brandy? Do you see her do this?
Yeah, that's what she does. She does this and then she'll get comfortable, and then she gonna say what she gotta say.
She talking about, I didn't know we was talking to her. I was like, we weren't, Brandy. She was like, well, why is she in our business? Why is she over there in our business? Why is she over here in my business?
It was this finger right here. Why is she?
All while being naughty nice. That's why I call her naughty nice, because she has a tone, but don't have the tone, but you know the tone when you hear it. It sounds like she's being kind.
Her whole face and her body, like, my thing is when she always gets comfortable. She got to get comfortable.
Yeah, to say she got like,
and then she gets comfortable, adjust herself in her seat, and then when she knows she do that, and she take a breath, and then she says what she got to say
with that finger. And it's a calm check. Like, you know, you're not going to hear, I'm speaking louder because I speak louder, but she's not speaking that loud, but she's speaking loud. Does that make sense? She's not speaking loud.
She's speaking loud enough for old girl.
But she's speaking loud enough for her to hear, and it's a firm, low voice. It's firm. The whole time the girl was like,
why is she talking? That was my finger. Why is she talking to me?
And it was consistent. This was
every single day.
It was almost every day. It was the audacity.
In meetings, I would go apprehensive because I knew she gonna say something foul. I'm ready for her. I'm ready for her. Lord. Go and apprehensive, ready for my boss and her boss.
Did. But it was a whole trip up there. But you know, I enjoyed it.
The game that we have to play because this coworker is assuming that while I'm talking, because the question is being addressed to me, that while I'm talking, she could just go ahead and explain what I said to the room.
Yeah.
Bitch, I'm very articulate, and I hate that word when it's applied to Black people. I'm articulate. I code switch like nobody's business. Brandy knows about our code switch. You know about everybody Black or person of color knows about the code switch. So I don't need you to explain what I mean. I said exactly what I meant. And I said it using the words that I paid for in my SAT packet. I paid for those words. Those belong to me now, and I can use them. So it like you said, Brandy, it is that privilege that I'm able to walk into the room because someone told me.
Even the privilege I can say whatever I want to say to you.
Yes.
I'm free to speak freely. I don't have to bite my tongue.
Hashtag Karen thing all right now because you just feel like you could just open your mouth and say whatever the hell you want to say.
I mean,
I can have an opinion about something and I can share it with others, whether they like it or not.
Yes. Doesn't matter what they think, because I'm going to say it anyway.
I'm going to say it, and I'm going to take
because I'm free to do so.
And so people think that privilege has to do with finances, or I grew up hard too, so I didn't have no privilege. Girl,
You
even
did.
in your poor state, you have more privilege
You have more privilege
than
than
you
I do.
know that you have.
And I got some dollars in my pocket, and you ain't got none, and you still have more privilege than I do.
Facts.
More privilege than I do.
The fact
Let's
that you
move
can
on.
say that I wasn't privileged because I was poor, like you don't even comprehend what we're trying to say about privilege. It has nothing to do with
With economics.
finances or anything. It has nothing to do with that. Like the fact that you think it's only that,
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Look
no
at the way,
comprehension.
look at the way the movement, the Me Too movement was uh commandeered by white women. No one really knows
Hijack.
was started by a black woman. You have actresses like Alyssa Milano, who you really think is the face of the Me Too movement.
Yes.
Most big foreheaded, natural hair black woman.
Yes.
This goes back to the fact of the number of black women that were in this whole case. Were there more? I don't know. I don't know. But would this have been such a push to get Bill Cosby convicted if all of these women, except for 7 white women, it's reversed? If all of these women, the majority of these women were dark skinned, wide nosed, big foreheads, high cheekbone, and big lip black women, would this have been a push? Because we have a great example of why it's not a push. His name is Robert Kelly, and it took years for him to be convicted in everybody.
No, I don't think it would have been a big deal. I don't think it
Everybody.
would have been a big deal. First of all, the white folks wouldn't even known he was doing this.
No.
If they did, they'd be like, "Oh, it's just some black girls."
Hmm.
Just black girls who don't
That
have
is.
to do anything. They wouldn't even know that he was doing this to black women. They wouldn't know.
Would the women that were that and we're going to talk about Harvey Weinstein, the women that were used or that is witnesses to convict Harvey Weinstein, some of those women who actually came out were black, but the women that we know of were white.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the core of everything, it is about the protection of white femininity. And you have this black man who, again, was one of the only few black actors, and we still have only a handful of black elite black actors, in an era where black people were still being lynched for living in certain neighborhoods. Um, you have the audacity to like white women. Oh, Sammy Davis
The
Jr. damn near
audacity.
lost his career because he married a white woman. Jack Johnson, the heavyweight boxer of the early 19th century, early 20th century, damn near he was brought up on federal white kidnapping charges because he liked white women.
So you think these are the women that I didn't have access to, and now I do. So I'm gonna do what I want to do. Situation.
Maybe, maybe
Possible.
because you married a black woman, but it then kind of goes along that vein. I can only marry a black woman safely and keep my career, but I can do what I want to do with the women that I actually like.
Mm.
See,
But I married a black woman.
I do understand why Camille stayed. I mean, that that was her. She had the big house, the money. She could probably get anything that she wanted, and this was, she may have left him and decided to deal with all of that. I'm pretty sure she was living a lot better than some other folks in her family. She had she had a kid, and she wanted, I need to take care of myself and my kid. And so, I mean, so she stayed.
Yeah, maybe
And she only divorced him so that they couldn't get all the wealth that he had. But I'm sure she snugged up under him the night he got home.
Oh yeah, and I'm quite sure that this is not I'm quite sure that was the case years and years and decades ago, that she knew what he was doing. Um, as a lot of Hollywood wives know what their husbands or their wives are doing. A lot of Hollywood spouses know what their other spouses are doing. Beverly Johnson, this black supermodel, her story was so weird to me.
Hey, we didn't have fun.
She said, and I'm gonna probably misquote her or paraphrase or whatever. But the gist of it was they were contemporaries, they were friends, and Bill was invited to her house, or she was invited to their house. I'm not sure which one it was, but that he had given her something. He had assaulted her. Camille comes in. She doesn't say anything to Camille. She stays after the alleged assault. And then there's another situation not too long after where she's back in company with Bill Cosby. I don't understand someone assaulting me and then me being around them voluntarily again. Listen, you could say the wrong thing to me and my ass will talk to you.
But we're conditioned like that. Like we always talk about Uncle Pete in the back room. Uncle Pete did what he did to us, and we still have to deal with Uncle Pete when we go over Granny's house for holidays and Sunday dinner and whatever, and we learn how to deal with Uncle Pete being there until you get to age where you're like, nigga, you ain't gonna do nothing to me no more, but you still Uncle Pete in the back room. You still living with Granny. I still have to see you. Now you ain't gonna touch me no more, and you know what you did to me, but we have to learn to deal with Uncle Pete.
So money doesn't negate that. Money doesn't just change.
No, you've been taught that since you was a kid.
I don't want to deal with this person anymore. I'm a supermodel.
But you have to deal with them. You have to. Just like you had to deal with Uncle Pete. You learned how to live around Uncle Pete your whole life. Now this other man does this to you, and you know how to just block it off and go about your business and do what you got to do, your job.
And I'm
While Uncle Pete's still over there looking at you from the corner.
As a black entertainer in that era, that what she alleged that Bill Cosby did to her was not new to her. I don't know if this is true. I haven't read any of her memoirs or biographies or whatever, but I'm quite sure that as a black actress, those advances or alleged assaults were not foreign to her career, or any model for that of that era were not foreign to her career. Having to
well, then you might be thinking, I'm going to lose everything if I say something. I'm going to lose everything, so I'm going to just block it out like I've learned to do and do my job.
So that's why I say this is a very slippery slope talking about Bill Cosby, because you're dealing with rape culture, assault culture, Hollywood culture, black culture, the Me Too movement, and feminism. You're dealing with all of that. And if you take a stance on one, it's kind of like you're turning your back to the other. So as a black person, I'm like, yes, the legal system finally got it right. Y'all messed it up. Y'all didn't do what you were supposed to. You got it right. Then on the other hand, as a woman, I don't condone sexual assault. But also as a woman, I'm like, what were you thinking? You traded, and this is what I believe, and I'm sorry, I'm standing on this hill, y'all. As far as Linda Constant goes, who the conviction was about, he paid her. Okay. I believe that in an instance where you are assaulted, if you accept a civil judgment and agree not to prosecute criminally because you've accepted a civil judgment, at that point, you still believe you traded your voice for the money. Not saying that that you cannot accept a civil judgment and still prosecute, or prosecute and then go after you financially. But I'm saying if you accept a civil judgment, a financial judgment in lieu of criminal prosecution, you have in essence, silenced yourself. So at that point, you don't get to say what happened because you have already traded that. You have already agreed that this is over with. The only person I can talk about this with is my therapist. But to come out later and say, this is what happened and I'm going to speak up in court, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. Because that check was more important than your dignity. And if you traded your dignity for the role in the first place, you don't have a voice. You're just going to carry yourself out. I'm not saying it didn't happen to you. I'm not saying it's not traumatic. I'm not saying you're not going to have PTSD and whatever, but you traded it because if someone did something to me, and maybe it's just me, Brandy, you know that there's a certain person that stepped on my foot when I was in the 10th grade, going to 4th period. Her name starts with M. And to this day, it's been almost 30 years, and to this day, if I see her, it is on sight because she refused to.
The girl probably don't even remember.
Not the point. The point is, I'm standing on that hill that when I see her,
She don't remember, Brand.
I don't even remember what the girl looked like. I probably won't remember, but if I hear that name, because it's a singular name and I've never heard it on anybody else, if I hear that name, I'm turning around. I'm like, I need my apology now.
That girl,
there's
that
no
girl
amount.
don't even remember. She forgot that day.
Listen,
Is that the first time your toe got stepped on?
but everybody else apologized. She didn't apologize.
No, it's not that she stepped on her toe.
Like, you did not acknowledge me. Like, you basically said, I'm no one. I'm nobody. You don't really need to acknowledge the fact that I exist. Okay, you might have forgotten, but to this day, if I see her, and I'm not gonna say her name, but if I see her, it's on site because I'm standing on this hill. Some Rubendale High School in Riverside County, California, can offer me a settlement to let this go, and I'm gonna be like, no.
You need to take that money, girl. Take the money.
I need my apology.
Take that money. Because that girl don't even remember.
Not the point. The point is that I feel that as a victim,
Not you saying no.
Putting the
Girl, I would have take that money because that girl don't remember. She can't even testify because she don't remember.
I need to be
Your
venerated.
own
It doesn't
witness
matter.
is me.
You are a good witness because you remember everything. You remember my emotional state. You remember my emotional state for the last 30 years. All of that. So what I'm saying is you stand on the hill of what is important to you. You do not compromise. And I'm not saying that that is easy by any stretch of the imagination.
But if you feel you're not going to get a prosecution because of who this person did,
take the money. No,
you take the
I
money.
agree. Take the money. But 30 years later, I can't come back and tell you how wrong I was.
Maybe he gave a lot of women money too, and that's why we didn't hear anything.
I can't come back in that court, in a criminal court, and want to prosecute you for my crime.
Brandy, I literally was just about to say that.
so that it's not just
BW, I was just about to say that. You don't think some of them already got money fraud too? I know they did.
But the money don't smooth over what happened.
No, it doesn't smooth over. But if you offered money to shut your mouth, you already chose. You already chose what you want to do. You chose the money over over getting the situation resolved for you in the manner that you feel like you needed. Many years out of
If you
line.
don't think that it's ever going to be resolved,
No,
if you don't feel I have this is not going to come to anything.
I don't know.
No matter
These
how
are white women.
No matter how much I scream from the top of the building, nothing's going to happen. So I'm going to take this money because I'm going to have to now because I ain't going to be able to find a job with nobody.
White women? I don't think that. They got some power.
And that's proven because Linda Constance.
They have power. They have more power than us, but they have more power than men, than white men.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
For sure. For sure.
Everything that has happened to this in this country, as far as race wars and things of that nature, happened on the voice or the tears of a white Because if white women had ever stood up and said, no, this is wrong, we are not going to do this, things would change. Think about the Voting Rights Act, the Voting Rights Amendment in what, 1920, 1921? Because white women stood up and said, we need the right to vote. We're not going to take you black sisters with us, but we need the right to vote. The temperance movement, which led into prohibition and the Volstead Act, was because of what? White women. White women.
They hold power above us, but they don't hold power above white men. And
But
the fact
influence white men in their decisions. Again, the Volstead Act, prohibition, which led in to millions and millions of dollars being funneled through organized crime, was ushered in by the temperance movement, which was pushed by white Christian women. They don't make that.
I'm not saying
they weren't making the laws, but they influenced the men who did. So guess what? The influencers have more power than the head of state. Look at the Queen of England. She's the head of state, but who influences her? Parliament. The prime minister. She can't make a move. The president of the United States cannot make a move without Congress, without the Senate. Cannot. Yes, I'm the head of state, but I cannot make this move. They are influenced. So it's not the head of state or the head of household who is the end all of power. It is the influencer. If you want Brandy, you've been married for a long time. You want your husband to do something and he's not really there with it, guess what you about to do? You about to make all
you also have to know that predators pick people they know they can control. They're not going to go after the strong feminist woman. They seek out those that they can.
But the strong women aren't seeking them out. If that's the case, because the people that are becoming violated, they sunk them out. They're the ones who went to them. They never said, "Hey, go get that girl, bring her to me." No. Those girls came to him and been like, "Hey."
I'm pretty sure there was a lot of women that went to his room, but I'm also sure that there were women who did not get down like that and did.
They did though, but they did.
They did go, but they didn't stay. They didn't deal with him. They didn't. I think there were women who actually, say this could have happened to me, but I rolled out. I didn't.
And those are the ones who took the blue pill. Those are the women who took the blue pill. That my dignity is better. I can't do this. I cannot do this. And again, predators always pick those that they can, that are not strong enough or able to defend themselves. Ooh, in this case of grown ass women, and again, we're addressing this on grown ass women. We're not going to talk about underage victims because that's we're not going to talk about even that. Even with grown women. What? Okay. If we're talking about grown women, just because you're grown physically, whose fault is it that I'm vulnerable? You can still be vulnerable. Whose fault is it? The predator or the prey? I mean, it ain't her fault that she's vulnerable. It's the person who takes advantage of the vulnerability.
No. As grown women, it is definitely our fault that we're vulnerable.
Yes, it is.
The predator is always in the bushes. The predator is what he is. A lion is a lion all the time. You know that if you pass that line, whether he's hungry or not, he is going to swipe at you because his nature is to do so. But as the prey, it is your job, again, not victim shaming, but it is your job as prey to read the world. I just seen a video yesterday where they were on one of them little trucks on a safari. The lion jumped in the thing with them and they're petting the lion, hugging him, petting him. But they are prey. Guess what? The predator is very manipulative, and at any moment, the predator can strike. And you know what the victims are going to say? In my mind, I was like, these folks are crazy as hell. You have a lion
let that lion
But
drop.
wait a
on
minute.
something
But
else.
wait a minute.
So
Do
simple.
that. But wait a minute. The second that line jumped in there, did they not understand that that's a dangerous line and the possibility of me touching him is that he can bite me?
When he
But I'm
jumped
willing
on
to
the
take
right
that risk
side,
because he's
I
letting me
asked for to
touch him.
jump off on the left side.
That's the risk. You know, you knew that was a line. Why would you sit there and touch it? You know that's a line. You know that it's dangerous. You know it can bite you, but
And
you
it's
make
not.
a conscious choice to touch
Because
it.
it is the nature of that beast to do so. So never put your guard down around the beast because it is his nature to eat you.
So are we? That sounds like we're taking responsibility off of him.
No,
because
no,
he
no,
should
no,
have
no,
known
no,
better.
no, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Your nature.
No. What you
and
do
your
is you
behavior
making
are
both
two
parties
different
responsible because it's not taking no responsibility. He's still horrible, but you also have to make her accountable for her choices
because
if
he's a
she
human.
knows at
He's
that
a
point
human.
as an adult.
So how can you?
Sorry, y'all, my teacher talking
do
too. So
that?
I'm listening.
But how is in the court? They're gonna say, "Well, you knew better. You knew this. You knew that." How can he be? How can he be found guilty? Because it was equal parties then. Well, you should have known.
Well,
Well, he should have known that he wasn't supposed to be raping women.
and that is going to be up to the morality of the juror, and that's the problem with jury trials. You put the human element into all of this, and the human element is on the predator, the human element is on the prey, and the human element is on the judges, which are the jurors. And jurors are going to put their own sense of morality in whether that woman was dressed appropriately, or whether she has the right moral fortitude, or whether he was enticed, or whether he's just a bad person. So that part we cannot control. But
so it sounds folks is gonna take it like
as a victim,
you knew what was gonna happen. So since you knew that what was gonna happen and he raped you, then you can't cry rape because
no, I don't believe that.
going up to his
I don't
room.
believe that. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is like I said before, if someone wants to do you harm, they will do you harm. It is what it is, right? But in some instances, and not all, sometimes you as an individual have to read your situation and not go into there with the assumption that everything is everything and everything is going to be okay when I leave here. This is what we talked about when cultural differences, how most black women walk into a room and we already are apprehensive and on the defense because we assume that some shit is about to pop off. We're looking for exits immediately. We're looking at who's the first question that most people ask if you get invited to a party.
Who's gonna be there?
Party. And if you know that the person is always is there, you be like, nah, I ain't gonna do it.
But everybody is not like that. Everybody is not like
exactly. But
everybody's not like that.
But that is not, but again, because you're not like that, is not the responsibility of anybody else but you. That is your responsibility. And I'm not saying that a rapist is not responsible because as a human, you are responsible for your actions. As a human, whether or not it's your inclination, whether or not it's your desire, if there's some burning desires for you to take, rape, and pillage, you are responsible for everything that you do. But on the other side of that, if there is the possibility that you could have read the room differently and change your situation, change the situation, you might be accountable for some action that you take that night. Now, if you were walking to McDonald's and somebody says,
I just want to bring, I'm laughing because you use my phrase rape and pillage.
Reggie says rape and pillage for everything. That's why she'd be like, I'm going to go to McDonald's, but I can't wear these shorts because I'm going to be raped and pillaged. But you know what I'm saying? Like this is why this discussion is such a very slippery slope. Because if you say one thing, it's like, well, what about this? What about this? What are you saying this? And you're like, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm kind of saying this part. You know, there is no.
So if it wasn't this chick that did, the technicality, and there wasn't a statute of limitations, and you're a juror, would you have found him guilty?
Now, what happened if
If it wasn't the lady that it was, if there was no statute of limitations, and
It depends on
women,
which victim we're talking about. In my case, it depends on which
create a
victim.
situation
well,
where
we would have a collective of women.
Mhm.
Because some of the victims were offered this drug, so they chose to take the
So
drug.
you would have found him not guilty?
Probably.
based on them taking the drug,
They admitted that they
necessarily
took the
taking
drug.
the drug.
They admitted to taking it.
I don't know.
But just because I take a drug don't mean I want to be raped and pillaged.
True, true enough.
That is true.
True.
Just because if I'm somewhere and I'm drunk as hell,
I mean, it
I'll
sucks.
people funneling me drink.
It totally sucks.
That's not.
But we have to. You have to
But
when
again-
you. It sucks. But at the end of the day, when they present this to them as a juror, as me as a juror, because when you're a juror, they're going to tell you you don't get to pick emotions. You got to pick what makes sense, what adds up, what works out. How does it make sense? Well, how can you prove that? Can you prove this? Prove that? How to make it work? And when you prove everything, it literally sounds like, because none of us was in that room, we don't really know.
We have to make assumptions.
We have to make assumptions. That's all I'm working on, because I wasn't in the room. All I know is these women came out and said, well, kinda he did, because he offered me the pill and we laid down in the bed together, and it kind of happened. But then, now here we are later on, and I don't want it to happen. And yes, he paid me for it, but that was about 30 years ago. So I don't know now. Now I don't know how I feel about it. That's kind of where we're at.
I don't believe that me being under the influence is consent at all. So let us just put that out there. That is not consent. Me being under the influence. But the circumstances leading up to me being under the influence and in the situation, that's something that you have to take accountability for. The assault is not your fault, because that is the fault of the predator. That is the assault. That is the problem of the person who committed the crime. Definitely. That is their fault, their responsibility. But my accountability, and this is the thing. I think we interchange these two things to say I'm responsible for something or I'm accountable for myself and my actions. My accountability comes in what led up to that moment. What led up to this? What puts you in this position? Did you, as a juror, I'm thinking, you went to the party. That's fine. That's not even an issue. A man offers you a drug. What are you taking the drug for? Okay, you took the drug. Okay. That's one. You are impairing yourself. You are impairing your ability to make conscious and good decisions. That's one. You went to the room, impaired. That's two. Your ability to make a conscious decision and give valid consent is a little muddy right there. So it's all these things that's leading up to this. At what point do we make all parties accountable and responsible?
He would be so far in the jail. I'm just letting you know. If I was in the jury, he would be in jail.
So
he would be eating food and peeing in his own and next to his bed for all his days, washing up in the sink and drinking water.
And I get it.
From the top of the toilet.
I get it.
Making wet burritos.
You know how to make burritos with Canteen.
He gonna be in there doing spreads and making and eating honey buns.
This is an argument that's going to go on and on and on because of the different variables that you have in there. And again, at no point are we condoning, I just want to put this out there, are we condoning a sexual assault or rape or anything like that? We're just having a discussion on how we feel about this. Trust me, we don't condone this. Again, I'm not victim blaming or shaming. We're just kind of taking a look at this one person and what we think about the situation. But
and like you said, Brandy, I mean, it's really it doesn't matter because you're gonna constantly do like this anyway.
You're gonna flip.
In my case, I'm gonna do this all the whole time. The whole time I'm gonna be doing that. So it's kind of I am one. Trust me. I don't. Mm-mm. But my mind naturally will go. Well, what about this? Okay, yeah, but what about that? But that's just how I think. That's just the type of mind that I have. So I'm not definitely don't want to do none of that stuff. Sorry, y'all. I'll be.
Okay, this when it comes to the Me Too movement, I think that personally, I thought it was kind of a witch hunt. Um, it's kind of like the Salem witch trials, where your cows no longer produce milk, so it must be Goody Johnson because it must be Goody Johnson's fault because she put her, she made a tea and I smelled it from, you know what I mean, like that kind of witch hunt. Everything in the Me Too movement became sexual assaults. You can no longer call a woman sweetheart. You can't open the door for a woman or that's assault. You can no longer give a woman CPR because you didn't get consent. Everything is sexual assault. And it's a good thing, and it was like it's too much. Everything becomes uh 30 years ago he touched me on the small of my back and pushed me into the door, opened the door and pushed me into the door and said, there you go, sweetheart. That's sexual assault. It's like it's muddied the waters on what is assault and what isn't, and that was to the further detriment of women's rights, especially when it comes to sexual assault, because now everything is sexual assault. And so, no, we weren't taken seriously before. We damn sure ain't gonna be taken seriously after this Me Too movement. I think this movement has done more damage to women's rights than it has done good. I really do. I really do. Because now everything is sexual assault. Everything is sexual misconduct. If a man opens the door for me and touches me at the small of my back, not on my butt, but just in that part right there, and moves me into the door and says, there you go, sweetheart. Guess what? Thank you. Thank you. I'm not going to say, oh, he touched me inappropriately. I didn't feel inappropriate.
Well, I don't want you touching me at all. But I'll say thank you for opening the door.
Yeah, I know you. You don't like people like that. So I get it. I don't like people, but
They don't know that. They gonna be
You
scared.
can't, don't touch me in the small of my back, on my arm, on my index finger. Just don't touch me.
but like even when people say sweetheart or honey, that's like, oh my God, I can't. You can't do that. Really, really.
You can't
And
live
it's
in the South.
all, yeah, you can't live in the South with that because honey and sweetheart all the time. I'm new to the South and I'm a honey and I will honey and sweetheart you to death. Um, but I really think that with Bill Cosby has good, bad, or indifferent has been made the example or tried to be made the example. And this is why they messed up this case. They tried to make this man an example, just like the same way they tried to make OJ an example. They tried to make him an example and they fudged it up. And even though Cosby's conviction has been overturned, he is not completely exonerated. So no one is saying that he's innocent besides himself. He's the only one who's claiming innocence. Um,
Well, him and police, but that's another.
she didn't say he was innocent. She just said finally that he's out. She didn't say he was innocent. And you have to consider, Brandy, that's her friend. That's her friend who is 83 years old. Finally, he's out. If you 83, I'm gonna be like, finally they didn't got this heifer out because she didn't need to be in there. Lord Jesus, I'm your friend. In her experience, in her experience, in her experience,
She didn't say he didn't do it. She just said a wrong has been righted.
right? She's not saying that he's innocent, which the wrong has been righted because they fucked it up. And as my friend, his friend, yes, I'm glad he's out because according to what happened in that court, he should not be there. She didn't say nothing about the victim. Nothing. She's talking about what happened in that court legally. What happened in that court? That's what she's talking about. I mean, we do it for our family members all the time. Our family members commit some crazy shit, and we be at court with airbrush t-shirts on, talking about free poo poo, knowing
You
that
know,
he did it.
I ain't wearing poo-poo shirt because
I
he
know
ain't.
you ain't gonna wear a poo poo shirt, but
No,
that's what we do. We know he did it.
I'm going to support the family.
Brandy, BW, when we say we are not talking about you.
Yeah, you are not included.
You are not included in the we. So when you hear we, it does not involve you in
We are not included in that number.
Like, you gonna bring something for the repast? No, I ain't bringing nothing for him. I'll come and hold his mama's hand and stuff. I ain't bringing that for the repast.
Yeah. But that's what But you have when you have a personal connection to somebody, you might know them differently than what they've done. I mean, you think about serial killers, which we talk about all the time, and whatever. The people in their lives, they're like, I never knew him. I didn't know him like that. Like, I didn't know about this part of their life. I know him as
It's not their fault that the person did what they did. I don't blame the family. But there's folks, you got some folks in the family or family friends, and you like, he died, but I ain't want nothing to do with him, no way. But you gonna go and hold his mama's hand, you gonna hug the daddy around the neck, you gonna pray over the family. You might bring some Hawaiian rolls to the funeral. Yeah, I would bring some Hawaiian rolls. I like Hawaiian rolls and some Publix chicken and some Czech sodas for the family. But I don't have to necessarily like their family member.
Right. So I think that's the case with Felicia Rashad. She is talking about her friend being released from prison. She's not talking about the alleged rapist. Or I don't, are they considering him a rapist or just some, I guess, whatever. Same thing. Semantics. But she's addressing her friend, and unfortunately in the age
basically he did wrong, but he was wrong.
Right. So that part, she's like, I can't control either one of those, but the prosecution could have controlled it. They could have did it right. So one part of this is correct. Now, if the court can go back after him if they choose to, because with an overturned conviction, there can be a retrial.
They said that they're barred from retrying him.
Are they? Well, then that's it. He's still not exonerated, but his conviction is overturned. So
yeah, they're barred from retrying him. I guess they jacked it up so bad. The judge is like, nope. He cannot be retried.
Now that his conviction is overturned, and I had this question a long time ago, when all these universities were taking his name off of awards and scholarships and all the stuff that these universities he had donated money to, can I get my money back?
That money spent, girl. You ain't getting no money back.
But you took my name off of it.
That money being spent.
Give me my money. I'm gonna be like, well, run me my money. Run me my money. Run me my money. And also, do you think that he should be able to sue the state of Pennsylvania for wrongful?
That's his right. That's his right.
You think he should though?
I would try to stay, if it was me, I'd try to stay far away from it and live out my last days.
Just to say that if it was me, I'm just gonna be in the cut. If I was him, I would sit in the cut and chill.
He's 83. What?
Chill, just chill. You are your 11s is showing. Just chill. Just chill. You don't even do it. You're doing the most. Just sit down.
I don't think he has.
He might not even need fighting on other convictions.
He can barely see.
He could barely walk. They was helping him out the car. He can't even do none of them Cosby dances no more. He can't even put his Cosby sweater on by himself. And them old tight gathered sweats.
That's your final word on it.
Ain't nothing else to say. Let it be.
Okay. I think he should sue. Just because. I think he should sue for wrongful conviction.
Just let it be. Sit on the couch with your Mel Danny Greens on in an old crocheted Afghan.
Do they even sell Mel Danny Greens?
They probably do, Brad.
I'm gonna find them. I'm gonna find some.
Daniel Greens for
Daniel
those who
Greens.
want to get.
Daniel Greens is the official name of it, but you know, to us is Daniel
Because
Greens.
he used to wear them on the Cosby Show. He used to have
He
some
did
Mel
have
Danny
some-
Greens. Huh?
They did look like Danny Greens.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna find some, y'all, and I'm just gonna post them on Instagram. If I find some Danny Greens made for men, I am going to post them on Instagram. If anybody else can find some Daniel Greens, if your granddaddy or your uncle, somebody got some Daniel Greens and they are a man, please post them.
He used to wear leather ones. He had leather with black.
He has a
leather.
brown leather Daniel Green looking slipper. So if you find some, post them to Instagram and tag Black Coffee Crime because we want to see them. Daniel Greens is expensive
Look
too.
up Daniel Greens first so you can know what you're looking for.
If you go to Amazon, them Daniel Greens cost about $70 for your auntie to be sliding in them at the church auxiliary board meeting.
And that's a discount for what he was paying when he was in the prison.
Yeah.
So
So
things probably run $150 in the prison.
yeah, they do a markup. So that is our discussion on Bill Cosby. I'm quite sure we could go further. But again, we do want to say there's a trigger warning because we did talk about, sexual assault and give our opinions, which for the three of us are varied. But in no way are we condoning sexual assault and saying that the victims are at fault. We were just talking about personal accountability and responsibility in conjunction with this case. So we are going to go ahead and end before we get into any further trouble. But of course, you are more than welcome to put your opinion in the comments.
Somebody gonna say something.
Oh.
That's okay. I'm ready. I got time.
So we will see you next week for another episode of Black Coffee and Crime, but always every Tuesday on YouTube, and you can always check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Black Coffee Crime. We will see y'all next week.